You were expecting Strider Zero, but it was I, Dio! No, wait,
What?
I'm still me. What's up, everybody? This is the Mystic Podcast. Hopefully, maybe you got a flyer from me
Or me.
or AZX, but I am Strider Zero.
Or just pick up randomly at your door.
Yeah, if you that was us. Don't kill us. So yeah, I'm Strider Zero, and you can see our
I'm
faces
down.
this time.
And I'm Dyna Italy 92.
And if you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Mystic Podcast where we're talking about various issues, though issues and other things. But we're going to talk. Trust me, if you came from Zenkaikon, we're going to go very big in depth with that. But we're going to start with our usual stuff with the Mystic Podcast, which is basically the media that we've consumed over the week. And as usual, I start. So if you
This
are
also mine. You got to also make it important to note that this is minus our reviews of anime episodes and manga episodes chapters, because those are in separate videos. Because
right.
sometimes that's what you come for. But this is all our other stuff that we have to talk about.
Yes. And so, what was I gonna say? I don't know. But if you're looking for the Zenkaikon stuff, I'll probably leave a time in the description of what to skip to. But anyway, so the media consumption for this week for me.
Double. Remember we didn't do one for last week.
True. There's quite a few. For anime, I started Tokyo Ghoul. I haven't quite finished the first season. You know what I was trying to do? I started it like a couple days before the con, and I'm like, if I can watch X amount of episodes a day, I can catch up before the con. Didn't work out that way. I'm still on like episode 9. To be honest, people hype the shit out of that anime. They're like, it's so good, man. It's so good. It's okay.
Tell. Apparently, that's what Zenkaikon's all about. Cosplay is all the hype animes that aren't as good as they say they are.
And you know what? It was good. It's good so far, but it's not like I'm not seeing the super hype shit. Like I understand it's the same thing as Shingeki. It's gory and it kills off characters, and that's why it's so popular. That's what people want these days. It's plain and simple.
Because they're too used to this whole shonen thing where nobody really dies, and they want gore and death.
Y'all love your Tokyo Ghoul, Shingeki no Kyojin, and Akamega Kiru. First off, now if I had to pick the best of them so far, it's actually Attack on Titan of the 3 of them. It's also the most overhyped, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's it for anime. For games, obviously a lot, because AZX let me borrow his 3DS, and so I played the shit out of Phoenix Wright, Dual Destinies. That game was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I started Fire Emblem Awakening. Finally! It's good so far. I have my gripes. I don't really care to talk about them until I'm done the game. So, but it's good so far. And Crom, Matthew Mercer. Crom is he's cool, and the main character. You know what I like? I like the main characters. Like I picked male voice 3, and like the random yeah, oh, yeah, oh, Crom. I like the random inserts. It's kind of amusing.
Well, see, the thing that iPhone find most don't really like when it comes to creating characters and they give you voice choices is that when they say, oh, you can play it so you can get a feel for what it sounds like, they give you they're like, ugh, like really, you can't give us a line of dialogue to really, you couldn't just give us a line of dialogue for them to say, so we can that's what I want to hear, how it sounds when they're saying sentences.
Yeah.
Because at least in this game, for this one, yes, there's sentences, as opposed to your created character in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, where the only time they speak, other than grunts and whatnot, is if they say the attack name.
Uh-huh.
So, and those are usually and since that's what the only thing you're going to hear about them, other than grunts, that's what's going to make or break it. Because there have been times where I've created a character, like the first character I created, I kind of sort of liked the voice, but then I wanted to see, okay, well, but when the way the voice said the various attacks, it was like only okay. So I wanted to see if one of the other ones would better fit. But you can't change the voice once you created the character,
Mhm.
so it's like disappointing.
Mhm. I like the
So
male voice 3, so I'm happy with it.
yeah,
In
it's,
terms of other games, I mean the usual. I Although I guess I could say I played a bit of Brawl at the con.
oh yeah,
I don't. You weren't there for that, but
yeah.
AZX. Let's just say AZX hit his hand against the table that we were playing on and really hurt his finger out of frustration.
Well, it's been so long since he's been owned that badly.
And like the other guys who were playing, they got their asses whooped, but that's besides the point. I played a little bit of Street Fighter there. I didn't really play many games there at the con,
We were so busy.
because especially I wanted to play Smash 4, but it was so fucking crowded.
Like people, the fact is that they only had one station set up for that, and they had it on 8-player Smash, or they had it so that way you could play 8-player Smash, and there was always 8 people playing.
Okay, that's not true. I did play Xenoverse that one time, and then we got to play J Stars again. That was the two of us were playing, and that other guy who was there
Yeah,
last year. I remember
yeah,
playing him last year. It was
yeah.
it was dude, I was freaking Killa from Hunter x Hunter. He was destroying me as a Phantom or as an assist. And then when I played as Killa, I was destroying. Dude, he seemed so overpowered. Oh my gosh.
Mhm,
And then when I was playing as Toriko, I was doing so much damage. Oh my gosh.
mhm,
To the other guy, the guy who was playing with us, he loved to play Asuna, and he flew around, so I couldn't use like the twin Kuki punch, which I'm like fuck. But when he did get in close, I just dealt so much freaking damage to him with just the regular combos.
mhm.
And then when I when I killed him, I went, "Good soul, someone stop." Did you see that?
And I don't think I
Dude,
did.
I did that in real life. I did that. Good
I think that
soul,
was when I
someone
was.
stop.
I think that was when I went away for a bit.
He didn't get it because he didn't watch Torigo, but I was about ready to just die laughing just from doing that. Because
Oh, that.
I knew it was bad, but I had to do it.
Yeah, well, now when you get the game, the Americanized version of it, every time you win a game, you have to do that,
Hmm.
or at least win your Toriko.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I can't wait for the English version to drop. Let's
which
see.
still doesn't have a release date. It just says summer.
Hmm. I'm not sure. I don't think I played any other games really in the past 2 weeks.
Hmm.
As far as I can, well, we have played games like Super Fight, but we'll get there.
Hmm.
We'll cover
Well,
that in the
and con.
part of the con experience.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of, I didn't really pick up any new manga or anything like that.
No
Did I see any
movie.
movies?
No, I don't think you did. Did you?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't think so. I think that's about it for me.
Other than the fact that you were watching a couple House episodes of House with AZX at the con.
Mm-mm.
I thought you were watching at least I thought you were watching an episode with him.
No.
Oh.
Mm-mm. I didn't know he watched it while I was there.
Oh.
I was
Well,
probably watching Stardust Crusaders or Kuroko.
yeah. So, Well, let's see. For me, it's pretty much been the usual. Leading. I was, Dragon Ball Xenoverse and my handheld One Piece Treasure Cruise game. Um, and the Dragon Ball Xenoverse's second DLC pack supposedly, the Japan it's supposed to be coming out in Japan like on April 8th, but they haven't officially given a date for everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, they're going to release a patch which will, allow you to face other people who do have the DLC pack. So that way you won't like crash if they're using, say, one of the characters from the DLC pack. If you aren't, because obviously no, you don't have to have the DLC, and they don't want your game crashing if you're facing against someone who did buy it and is playing as one of those characters or using something else like one of the items or moves. Also, it's also gonna increase the max level cap by 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be interesting. And that's pretty much it for gaming. In terms of TV shows, it's pretty much been the usual. But there is one thing I have to note for I already said this to Strider here, but one of the shows I watch weekly is Castle, and our 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 lady, our woman, Verena Palencia was a guest star as a she was only a person she was only someone in the hospital and had to do with lawyers and whatnot, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but she was neither the murder victim nor the killer, so that's good. That's good, at least. So, and let's see what else. Movies. Oh yes, I forgot to mention about the anime. I watched both seasons of the Rooster Teeth produced cartoon show or Ruby, which I thought was very good. Had the character. It was very good, especially which was surprising because if you watch it and don't know that it's an American cartoon, you won't know because even though it's an animation style I've never seen used before, it still has a very anime feel because it's hard to really call it a cartoon because it feels and it just is more like an anime than a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the characters are everything good about an anime. A good anime or a good manga is put into this. And to make reference to something that we had at Zenkaikon, it was a short form fiction with very novel like characters.
There you go.
Yes. To basically sum that up, one of the things we went to was a writing panel, and basically what we're saying is that the story is very short. I wouldn't say like flash fiction short, but like short story almost because it's not that long. But the characters feel as flushed out as like if it was a novel length
Mm-hmm.
or long anime length.
Makes sense.
Which is pretty hard to do. Let's see. In terms of movies, not really much. I mean, what was it? Last night I was bored, so I decided to throw on Netflix and I watched the Chris Rock movie Down to Earth. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I heard it, never saw it.
So I mean, thankfully I've been spending some time, since I've gotten back to the con and after I caught up on all my shit and finished watching Ruby, I got a little bit of writing done. About a chapter and a half. Almost a half, I should say. So, and now the next thing move on is a section of where I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania. For those of you out there, for those of you of our viewers who are wrestling fans. Now, right off the bat, what I have to say is that this WrestleMania has quite easily been was to put it in simple terms. One, it was quality. You know, I'm trying quality, like that AZX's favorite word, quality, and quite easily probably one of the best WrestleManias in recent years. They had they had the two matches on the pre-show which were okay, but all the matches they had on the main show were on point in quality. With let's see, the highlights including the matches were was it, I think a 7-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship, which was pretty good. A guy got thrown from the top of a ladder through another ladder.
That's pretty cool.
And even the Divas tag team match was interesting. And usually that's for Strider, since you don't follow wrestling. Divas matches are usually when people are like bathroom break, because that's how uninteresting they usually are.
Oh, really? So that's where I would usually be like, ooh, let's look.
Yeah, that's still not enough, because it's usually not that interesting. Because it does get tiring eventually when their matches focus more on showcasing their how good looking they are, and not on the actual their actual athletic abilities.
Any hair pulling?
Well, there's always some of that, but no hair taken actually out.
No weaves. No weaves unturned.
Nope. Well, I don't think any of them wear weaves, as far as I know. Let's see. What was another one? Interesting one was there was Randy Orton was facing off against a guy, had quite possibly the best finishings of the night, because I don't know if you have you ever seen Randy Orton fight?
Once.
Well, to best describe him, his final move, it's kind of like similar to Stone Cold's move, about how he kind of like pulls his head down, and it's called the RKO. But what he did was the other guy was going for his finisher, which is basically just the guy just stomps your head into the ring. But what he does is, as the guy goes to stomp on his head, he stands up, effectively tossing the guy in the air, and then jumps up and brings the guy down.
Wow.
Which was actually pretty impressive. And that should leave the 3 remaining matches were the last. I'm saving the best 3 for last. First, the Triple H versus Sting match, which was very good, and of course had some wrestling fan service when Triple H's boys, the former members of DX, came out to help him, and then Sting's boys, the former members of NWO, came out, and so that was pretty good. And then now my favorite is mainly because I'm biased, because my favorite was the Undertaker match. Because Undertaker is one of my favorites. So but it was, even though the match was very safe, like they tried to lean towards the more safer side, because it's kind of like a cop's he's going to be probably most likely retiring in the next year or two, so they want to actually let him be able to wrestle in the next year or two.
Right.
They don't want to, because basically he's gotten to the point where he only wrestles at WrestleMania. So they didn't want him to get so badly injured that so that he actually needs the entire year to recover from it. Because he's old. He just turned 50, which in terms of sports, you're like if you, in terms of sports years, you're like 100.
Yeah, you don't really go past 50 and
Well,
live
in
to
fact,
tell about it.
well, first of all, in most sports, you don't go past like 40.
Yeah.
In wrestling, you can go a little longer because of the fact of its choreographed nature.
Hmm.
But and then the final match of the night was the title match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which was both two guys who were basically big, strong guys that were really like going, and it was a very impressive match. And you know, but of course they had to have their twist ending where they employed where the Mr. Money in the Bank, which basically, to explain for those of you who don't know, Money in the Bank is basically a concept they came up with a couple of years ago, where it's you fight for this Money in the Bank contract in a ladder match, and when you win it, it gives you the ability to get a match with the title holder at any moment. And originally, people thought, oh, you use that, okay, I want you. They'll cash it in and say, hey, look, I want you to have a match with me at this pay-per-view, even though I'm not even in the running yet. But the first person who got it, Edge, set the trend of using it at an opportune moment, which is when the champion is too beat up to fight back. So that's how he used it. Like, even the Brock Lesnar's opponent did his one finisher like 4 times and did his other finisher like 3 times. So he was pretty worn out. However, alternatively, Brock Lesnar did a bunch like 10 or so suplexes on his opponent and his finisher 4 times. So they were both pretty beaten up, and then he decides to cash it in, which turns it into a 3-way match. And then to kind of leave it off on a iffy note, he pins the other guy, because in a triple threat match you don't even have to pin the champion to win the match and get the title. So that kind of so it was a great pay-per-view, like I said before, and was probably one of the best WrestleManias in recent years. So I believe that's everything I think I have to say on that. Oh, the last thing was a moment I almost forgot, was in between the Divas match and the Undertaker match. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon came out and basically were like talking about how, Sting lost, nobody can stand up against us, and Rock comes out to say so he can say otherwise. And, Stephanie gets all in his face, and, he wants to do something about her, but he's like, he can't because he doesn't hit women. And then he decides to go out into the ringside, and ask for help from the UFC's women's champion to come in and beat Stephanie's ass. But what made it even 10 times, personally for me, 10 times more awesome, was she was wearing a It's Over 9,000 t-shirt. A freaking Vegeta It's Over 9,000 t-shirt. It was awesome. I was, what? I was freaking out. And it was awesome. Plus, The Rock's always entertaining. The Rock's always entertaining.
Who won?
Oh, it wasn't a match. It was a confrontation. It was a
just a confrontation. Okay.
So, but if you had to really pick a winner, I mean, it's The Rock. I mean, The Rock. Nobody can beat The Rock in charisma.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to wrestling. In terms of acting charisma in movies, I don't know.
I like him in acting. I just depends on the movie, really.
Yeah. Well, apparently, a lot of people really like him in his Fast and Furious role.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, neither do I, but I'm just saying is that apparently people like him in that role.
I have to marathon the Fast and Furious films.
Because the 7th one comes out this weekend.
Yeah.
So, I think it's time to finally get to Zenkaikon.
Alright, let me make a note of it, and I'm not going to edit this out. This is for you guys, ultimately. I'm just trying to give you guys a... So it's easier for me, but it's ultimately for you guys. So this past weekend we were at Zenkaikon 2015, which was in Lancaster, PA, and it was awesome. Okay, we're done.
Awesome.
Show's over.
So,
We had a couple of guests. We had the voice actors. We had Matthew Mercer. We had Trina Nishimura, and we had
Laura Landis.
Lauren Landa, and then we had the two from Invader Zim, which was Ricky Simon, and Richard Horvitz. I think those were the two. But for me personally, I was there for Matthew Mercer.
Matthew Mercer.
And he killed it. He was unbelievable.
Everything he was at.
Everything.
He did was gold.
Some of his panels are on YouTube. I will not link them, but you can look them up.
Not that hard.
No, it's not that hard. And if you happen to come across a comment of where Tiger X, that would be me. So if you want to see what question I asked, which I already told you guys previously I was going to ask, and I did, I directed the time, actually, where I asked the question. And AZX asked two questions in one, and the very first question of the other one. So, there was that. Dude, Matthew Mercer was amazing. And very interesting lineup we had. Right around there. I can't see from here. Do you see the guests? Do you see the guests?
Yeah, the guests against humanity.
And the guy with the glasses. It was interesting because it was really a 2 hour. It was like an hour and a half event. It was supposed to be 2 hours, and then it was cut to one, and then they ended up doing an hour and a half. AZX and I cut out of that early, while Link stayed. I think he stayed most of it.
Are you talking about Doug Walker?
Yeah.
Panel?
Yeah, the guy with glasses.
He stayed a little longer. He stayed a little longer.
And so, like, that caused a little bit of trouble with the line, I think. The line situation. But we'll get to the line situation later. Nostalgia Critic, his panel was good for the hour that AZX and I stayed. The questions were getting weird again, so we bounced. If you guys were there, no offense to any of you if you were asking the questions, but some of those people were just too much. And we'll get to that one guy eventually.
Now we'll save him for the end.
But there was that. The Guest Against Humanity was amazing.
Oh my god, it was amazing.
Though if I had one gripe with that panel, it was that there was a lot of like knowledge base involved, where it's like, what's that? Like, in order for it to be funny.
I know that happened a lot. A couple times, like I was just there was a decent amount of them where I was just laughing along with everyone else. There was so much laughter from the jokes that.
Oh yeah.
It was especially, and you know what made it even funnier was, of course, the voice actors, or shall we say, the Nostalgia Critic, his brother, and Matthew Mercer couldn't help but on certain rounds deciding to read their question with voices. With the funniest being the round where the Nostalgia Critic was Barney.
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, you can't find that one on YouTube.
No, we can't really. We're not gonna repeat that. They really kind of said, don't record this, and so because it could bite them in the ass if we were to repeat them what they said. So, I mean, obviously, Card Games Against Humanity is something that is geared that way. So.
I mean, I would assume, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna. They don't want us to say what they said, but obviously, it's not. They can't keep it secret. Oh well, we can't let anybody know we played this game because.
Yeah.
Well.
It was on the list.
It was on the list, so they know that. So, and by extension, they know that they probably said or laughed at things they shouldn't have.
We're just not going to say what specifically. So.
Well, that would be kind of hard because I don't actually remember any of them.
I remember a couple of them, but
obviously for obvious.
Don't worry, actors, we got your back.
We're not going to. But the voices definitely added some comedy.
Yeah.
Just. It only got semi annoying at the end when when the Walker brothers just kept winning. It kept getting annoying.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted because I was rooting for Matthew Mercer.
So was I, of course. But yeah, Nostalgia Critic, he really killed it out there. I think like his brother Rob Walker was like he did well too, but I think like the most of his points were coming from his brother, like because he knew how to play his brothers so well. Whereas Nostalgia Critic was hitting more of like everybody.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, what else?
Another highlight would be the. Well, of course you have to talk about some of the other things that Matthew Mercer said in his other 2 panels, the ones we went to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, my favorite thing, mainly because of series bias, was what he said at the end of his last panel, where someone was like, "Oh, would you like to play Law?" And he's like, "Yeah!" And I'm like, "Oh my god."
The two of us looked at each other and were like, this guy has to play Trafalgar Law.
Because before, Strider wanted, Troy Baker?
Robert McCullum.
And I forgot, who's he playing?
He's playing Doflamingo, so.
So he can't play Doflamingo and Law. Or else we're going to have a very strange interaction when they get to dubbing Dressrosa.
Yeah, he'd have to do Doflamingo more like Sensui, and then do Law more like Mifune. But even then, it would still sound like the fuck.
Too similar. So they'd have, but Matthew Mercer. Not to say he's I'm not gonna. He's perfect, since we don't. I don't want to say since we don't have Robin McCullum to do it, since he's doing somebody else, but the fact is that when it comes to One Piece, these people are in it for the long haul, so we need good quality people to voice these characters, and Matthew Mercer is the current frontrunner in our minds for Law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, out of all of his performances, which one do you think is the closest to Law? To what you would think of as Law?
I was thinking about that. I think
because you saw me as soon as because you saw how as soon as he said, "Oh, he would love to play Law," you saw my hand go up and I want to know, because I wanted to ask him can you give me what your interpretation of Law would be? But unfortunately, he never got to me.
I was thinking the way he voices Sinbad or Jotaro are the closest to what I think would be a good Law. I mean, Crom would also work, now that I've heard a fair amount of his Crom. I mean, really, he could do anything with his normal voice, and it would sound awesome.
A lot of the things he said, while jokingly at the con, in various voices would be good.
Yeah.
So.
Except his Scottish accent.
That was a pretty good Scottish accent.
But it wouldn't be good for Law.
I don't know, maybe, who knows, maybe Law is Scottish.
Room tact. Aye, laddie, it's time for shambles. My Scottish isn't nearly as good as his, so.
Well, he does it for a living. He does voice acting for a living, so don't be too hard on yourself.
No. So Matthew Mercer killed it. Lauren Landa, I went to Lauren Landa's panel. AZX left early because of all the Attack on Titan spoilers. But
even though he's never going to read it or watch it.
Her panel was pretty good overall. I knew she was funny beforehand because I've seen another panel of her, and I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite things in her panel was how she was talking about Mike McFarland and how after she had gotten done a screaming session, she was like all screwed up, and she's like, Mike, I gotta rest, and he was like, that's funny. Next take, because and she went on to say, he was from the Dragon Ball Z era. He's used to this shit by now.
Yeah. Which is funny because Mike McFarlane's gonna be doing a lot more screaming as Buggy soon.
Oh yeah.
When Buggy comes back into the story of One Piece.
I know you went to the burlesque. I did not.
Oh yeah, I came across a video that reminded me of the game that one character at the end they were doing a female version of the main character in the video game series known as No More Heroes.
Okay.
With the have you seen the character? He has like a lightsaber like weapon.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, well, they did a female version of her for the final performance. That's the one I was trying to tell you about.
Okay.
But yeah, it's entertaining, and yes, even just because we're nerds doesn't mean we don't enjoy sex. I mean, just look at some of the anime and manga we have. Sex sells.
We had like a panel of our own, like AZX and I. We were just watching the burlesque line, and we were just making fun of people like left and right. Like, look at this dude here. What the fuck's up with this dude? It's just like it was funny. We were laughing our asses off too, and we were just talking about Devil May Cry and shit. But so there was the burlesque.
What's another interesting good one? Oh, the always entertaining voice actors panel.
The voice actors panel was
where they had all five of the voice actors together.
That was unbelievable.
And unlike last year, they didn't get a chance to do any, if they were even planning on it, to do any like script readings. Mm-hmm. However, just the way they were playing off each other was amazing. Especially Richard and Ricky. They were working which is disappointing which after hearing that I probably should have gone to their Zim and Gur Doom Hour panel because that probably would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell they knew each other so well. They just kind of naturally played off each other. Matthew Mercer just played off everybody. He was brilliant. I thought Trina and Lauren Landa did the same thing. They were good with each other, but Matthew Mercer just played off everybody.
Well, that's why they put him in the middle.
Yep, they put him in the middle. They put him in the middle in the Guess Against Humanity too.
Because he works well he was good at playing off. Well, everyone was good. Yeah. Everyone was good.
Everyone was good in that.
Also, Uncle Yo stand up.
Dude, he was. Oh my gosh. He was. Let me just say, he was not afraid to cross some of those lines, and I thought that was brilliant.
My favorite line. Now, since his began with, okay, tape this, please tape this. I'm going to say this. My favorite line in regards to crossing over the line was his line about how bronies are furries who couldn't commit to the lifestyle.
That was I think he pissed off a lot of people, like a lot of bronies that were probably just sitting in the back, but everybody else was just dying because it was like it's so true at the same time. It was just oh my gosh.
Oh my god, there were so many jokes. It's great. It was at first. We saw we didn't see him last year. We saw some of the comedy he made when he was doing emceeing the burlesque last year. Mm-hmm. So we kind of figured, okay, he's going to be good, but we still were going into it not sure how, a geek-specific comedian would work, and it worked fantastic. His whole bit about how anime and manga fans, we freak out over the people in the industry, and you're never going to see that with anybody else. And then he goes on a tangent to show that same amount of enthusiasm and wonder with a bus driver.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the voice he used was too funny. It was hey, It was something like that.
Like you, like saying like you drive a bus. What made you want to drive a bus?
And what would you
Which
say to aspiring bus drivers?
no, he didn't say that part. But
Oh,
he was
really?
like, which one do you like better, left turns or right turns? Well, then he went on his whole, and then of course, you know, just like most comedians, he drove from his own life and spent time making fun of his own cats.
Mhm.
Like BMO was like, pshoo!
Yeah.
And how about like this? He made a joke about how his cat was a decorator, and he's like, you know what, this kitchen's nice. You know what it needs? Cat hair. He was so good.
And he
And
showed us like that puppet thing. I didn't think that was that good. I mean, we could have had better context. Maybe it might have been funnier, but to me it was just there was some funny stuff in there, but it was mostly just kind of
hey, but you can't blame him for shamelessly plugging
yeah, no, not at all.
Join Mystic. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, now some other interesting ones we went to, good ones we went to, was the Soul Eater panel.
The Soul Eater panel was pretty good.
It was great, and the main reason, well, first of all, the driving force was the Spirit and Death the Kid cosplayers.
Mhm.
With the way, because since the voice, you know, obviously you can't get every voice actor out to every convention.
Mhm.
So you can't always have people who are from certain series. So this was one of those cases where if you've never been to a con, where they have people who are basically their stage performers, and they'll cosplay as characters from a certain series and do a panel about them.
Mhm.
And it worked, and they were fantastic. I mean, obviously the witches weren't. People were focusing mostly on Kid and Spirit, so it was kind of hard for the other two to really shine. But it didn't matter. And of course, thankfully, what made it even better was the fact that several people who were cosplaying as characters from Soul Eater were in the audience,
Yep.
including two Makas.
Two Makas. There was a Black Star. I
There was
noticed there
also
was an Ashura, but they didn't get involved.
no, but there was there was Stein was there for a bit, but
Stein,
then
yeah.
the Stein left.
Mhm.
There was also Corona, the
Yeah,
best
Corona.
when they were forcing them when they forcibly asked the panelists to ask their opinion on whether or not Corona was a boy or a girl. That was
Uh-huh.
funny. Or just every interaction with Spirit was funny. He would fall over. People kept making fun of the fact that Death the Kid and his whole symmetry,
Mhm.
and it just worked very well.
Yeah, I mean, dude who played Spirit, if you're watching this, you killed it. I mean, in my opinion, you made that panel. I mean, the guy who played Death, or the girl who played Death, you did pretty good too. But
Oh,
Stephanie,
the best! I think one of the other funny things was when they had Death the Kid arm wrestle Black Star, and now for those you don't know, Death the Kid was being cosplayed by a female. Black Star was played by like a semi-muscular guy, so it was
yeah,
like you have like this big arm against this like little arm,
mhm,
and then but yeah, it was up and down from beginning to start to end was a good panel.
yeah,
There was a couple other, you know, interesting ones. Like some we did. We went to a creating a character writing panel, which it was okay, but it could have been better. It was just that too many people were asking questions way off topic.
uh-huh, definitely.
That took long explanations to answer. Um.
The Good Morning Zenkaikon was pretty decent.
Oh yeah, it was pretty good. From what you saw, because you guys left to go to the shitty Hyrule history panel.
All right, let's not. I will go there, but if you guys are watching, girls who organized the Hyrule history panel, you know, didn't go so well, but you know, work at it. There's many different ways you can better prepare yourself for a panel. I mean, practice, prepare, breathing techniques. Um, you've at least done it once now, so you can
And
do it
learn
again.
from it and improve.
Uh,
But yeah, the Good
let's
Morning
see.
Zenkaikon was really good.
The opening ceremonies were fun. Um, it was brief. It was only 30 minutes, but it was fun.
Even though they scheduled like an hour, I think, for it, or an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was supposed to be an hour. It was only
Half hour.
30. I'm looking at I'm just looking at the schedule to see what else the fuck we went to on Friday.
There was a couple of other, things here and there that were pretty decent.
Oh, AZX and I went to ConStaff Uncensored. I can't talk about it obviously, but it was good. We met the head of the Zenkaikon. She was very nice. We actually saw her in the elevator too. Speaking of elevators, we saw Nostalgia Critic. We rode in the elevator with Nostalgia Critic and his brother on
Sunday.
Sunday, and it was like silent. And I just had to say something like, "So you guys think you're gonna come back here next year?" And Nostalgia Critic was like, "No, this place sucks."
And he was like, nope. Then he was like,
Yeah.
then he got serious and was like, yeah, it was funny. If they want me back, I'll come back.
And I said, you guys were great. Thanks for coming. And he's like, yeah, thank you for coming. So that was nice. A nice exchange.
Some of the other ones I went to were like a panel about various anime openings through the decades. It was just, I guess, they played about 40 different openings, I guess, but a lot of them were more older and obscure. There was a couple, noteworthy ones like, they did the first opening of Soul Eater. I think the third opening or an opening from part 3 of JoJo.
First
They
opening.
did first. They also did Dragon Ball Z's Tra La La. They also did Fist. They did one for Fist of the North Star and Gundam. So there was a decent amount.
Which I have to interject on that and that the fact that they didn't have certain openings in there is like.
Oh yeah,
They did
not have a. They didn't have a single. They didn't have anything from like Full Metal Alchemist. No Naruto. No Bleach. Not One Piece. No friggin'. There was a lot of good animes that had great openings that they didn't do.
Yeah, the fact that they're missing something from Grand Rodeo, they're missing something. They probably didn't play anything from SID. SID and Grand Rodeo are the two best Japanese bands out there, in my opinion. That's like the fuck.
They probably did, but they were probably one of their lesser known series.
Might have been. I mean, Grand Rodeo did all the openings for Kuroko no Basket, and all of them are amazing. Should have been on there. At least one of them. Magi's opening was SID, and that first opening is so good.
Well, anyway, another one I went to was a panel about strong female characters in fiction, which was pretty good.
I didn't go to that one.
See what else?
Let's see.
Damn it! I should have brought my paper down with me.
We went to the character workshop. I know that we talked about that, and there really wasn't that much more. We did see the issues of adapting video games into movies.
I like that one.
I like that one. The presenter was pretty well prepared, and I thought he was pretty good.
I also went to what was it, an anime password? That was pretty good. That was being the celebrities that they had for those was the Nostalgia Critic and Uncle Yo, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was so it was always fun, trying to figure out what's the password, while they're trying to figure out the password.
The Magic the Gathering tournament was 6 hours long, apparently.
That's pretty possible.
That's a lot of card games.
Because those yeah.
I guess that's it for like panels. I think because I don't think I went into anything else. But then we can talk about the overall experience now because there were more things to it than just the panels and the guests. And there were
let's see. First of all, like we said, one of things we did was on Thursday night was we hung around and played this card game called Super Fight,
Hmm.
which is interesting. It's kind of similar in some ways to Cards Against Humanity, but instead of trying to be funny, it's more it's more of a question of who would win in a fight. You
Yeah,
know, which was pretty entertaining.
and we turned
Um,
into a drinking game, of course.
of course.
Though
And
we didn't
then
have much whiskey, so I mean that was honestly for the better, in my opinion. So
yeah, if we would have kept going, who knows? Especially with the way AZX was acting.
God,
Imagine if he had more shots in him.
he got so like hyper, we had to like restrain his ass until
It
he.
took all three of us to restrain him on three separate occasions that night in
It's like
order to get him to go down.
every time he went after me, eventually he calmed down because eventually I would just use my weight and just get him on.
Yeah, but we're all bigger than him.
I know,
Heavy. We're all heavier than him.
I know. That was it was funny, but let's see. And
But
of
it did
course,
get kind of annoying towards the end of that. But
our eating habits involved a lot of bread and a lot of meat in
oh
between them.
god, oh god, oh god. I well, first of all,
Don't say the
you know,
S word.
no, no, can't say the F word. No, I'm just kidding. Too many friggin' sandwiches. Oh my god. First night we got there, we went out to got some pizza, and unfortunately, you know, originally we thought we were going to be getting, breakfast, continental breakfast from the hotel, but it didn't. Apparently misread it, and it didn't say continental breakfast. It's included. It just said breakfast,
Uh,
meaning it's offered, but you're gonna have to buy it. And it was either go through their insanely high a la carte prices or pay for like I think it was like $15-16 breakfast buffet,
mm,
which we were like, nope, I don't have time. Well, I didn't want to waste the money on that.
nah.
But for lunch, just so many sandwiches. We had sandwiches every day for lunch,
Hmm.
and lunch meat sandwiches, and then even despite the fact of that, we went on Friday night to the amazingly delicious local sandwich shop, Isaac's,
It's a
downtown Pickle Bar.
it's a chain, but it was sort of local. But
Well, I mean, it's there. Might be, whether it's a chain or not, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Food there is fantastic.
it's really good. Yeah, I mean for a chain, it's got some really good deli sandwiches, but they're mostly like hot sandwiches. I got the same shit every time, which is
Yeah,
like Black Angus.
which became more because we were going to go somewhere else Saturday night, but everywhere was booked. Like because as we quickly found out, if we wanted to get something else to eat besides sandwiches, we were like, okay, Saturday. By the time came time for Saturday night dinner, we were like, okay, we're tired of sandwiches. Let's get something else. We quickly found out that there's a lot, almost every restaurant in town had mostly sandwiches. And we didn't even get a chance to see the menus at the two pubs because we would have to get a friggin' reservation
Yeah,
because that's where all the locals were hiding out.
and the
That's
one place where like it was like dead. It was like a pub, but it was
dead.
dead, and the choices were just awful.
Yeah.
The place
Not that
didn't look clean at all.
not that the food wasn't. Not saying that the food probably wasn't going to be good, but I'm sure the food's good. It was just due to the fact of the prices, the options, and just the fact that it's a la carte. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it looked pretty like ugh too in there.
Well, I mean, yeah, but if we hadn't just gone through like so many if we hadn't been eating so many sandwiches and it wasn't so pricey, we
Hmm.
probably would have gone.
Yeah.
Which then forced us back to Isaac's again, which it was
Hmm.
still the food was still good. However, unfortunately, Saturday night, the service
Ugh.
wasn't that good.
The service was awful on Saturday night, unfortunately.
And I think it was a combination of the fact that a lot of the people from the convention were there, and Saturday is the busiest of the 3 days.
Hmm.
So you had a lot more people to be there. Plus, it looked like they might have been understaffed as well.
And on top of that, there was a lot of I think there was a lot of poor management that night. I don't know what was going on, but they just were not handling it well at all.
Now, if that aspect came up later in the evening when it started to die down a little, and we were still getting like waiting too
Yeah,
long.
like this gigantic table left, and we were still there for like 30 minutes. They didn't even touch that table. Didn't even touch it. It was just sitting there full of, plates and cups and shit. Whatever. I mean, it was not good. So suffice to say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically food.
Yeah, well, and then by the time, and then unfortunately, once again on Sunday we had to have sandwiches for lunch,
And of
and
course, I had a sandwich for dinner because I had to leave early because I had work on Monday. So
yeah, and then I was like, I didn't care how far we had to walk. We walked several blocks farther away than we normally would go, just so I can go to find a pizza place because pizza place directly like a block away, the one right down the street was closed on Sunday.
yeah.
So I was like, I put my foot down. I'm like, no sandwiches, just no freaking sandwiches.
Well, I
And
know
then,
AZX got a burger from the hotel, and he said it was really good. So.
hmm
Mm.
yeah, um, but the combination of like the horrible sleep schedule and just the just too many sandwiches, like it just all hit me, and the fact that I made at that point when it came to Sunday morning, by the time I got there, I was like between the horrible sleep scheduling and the poor diet of the sandwiches,
Mm.
too many sandwiches. My body was like already messed up. But then I made the horrible decision of getting a breakfast burrito that had a beans in it, and was in the later half of the day making friends with the toilet.
Uh, yeah. On Monday, I didn't have that good sleep because I had to wake up early for work, and like it was basically tricking my body into still thinking I was like in this like same mode. So like by the end of Monday, I was so like screwed up. Like my body was so screwed up that I ended up sleeping like 12 hours, and I just completely crashed on Tuesday and Wednesday. I was
Oh my
done.
god, I was like, I, I, I was exhausted when I got up on Monday.
Hmm.
I was like, and I slept in somewhat. Like originally I was to get up at like 9, but I ended up not getting up until like 30.
Wow.
So I was just tired because I was gonna go right to bed after I was finishing watching WrestleMania on Sunday, but AZX wouldn't let that happen.
Of course.
He was like, because at that time, because it ended around like 11, he was like, "You pussy, why are you going to bed so early?" Because as you know, Strider, and as we'll tell you now, AZX is a night person, evening
Hmm.
person. So like we're not like when 11 o'clock rolls around and I'm starting to get tired and I'm like, maybe I want to get some sleep, especially since tomorrow I have to drive home. Nope, that's when he gets his energy.
Yep.
So through sheer arguments alone, he kept me up an extra like 2.5 hours.
Hmm.
So, and then and since I got up later and we went out to breakfast that morning to a local diner, and I just was like, and it was great. So now we know we have a place to go to for next year for the diner.
Where'd you go? Prince Street?
No, we went. No, no, no. We went to a diner, not the cafe. At the
An
cafe,
actual
a diner.
diner. Okay.
Yes, it's called the Neptune Diner. It was. I mean, it was the group food there was great and
Wow.
for a steal. Like, and I was like so hungry. It's like I got a friggin' omelet with hash brown. I think it was like with hash browns and toast, and then I also got like a stack of pancakes. I was like starving because
Wow.
not just because because I just I hadn't eaten anything because I woke up like an hour or two ago,
Hmm.
but at the same time my body was just craving something more satisfying,
Yeah.
than what I've been eating all weekend. So now we know better for next year to be more plan better ahead
Yeah.
for both breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
But that's
so
all about the experience. Is learning how to improve.
yeah.
I guess then we should have probably gone to that panel about eating good at Zenkaikon.
Yeah, I guess so.
um,
So I guess let's talk about some of the the other issues like the lion issue
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember this. They specifically said, "Oh, you're not supposed to line up until 30 minutes before the panel."
mhm,
But it did. If it was a popular panel, it didn't matter how long. People would start to camp out like an hour for like the friggin' burlesque. People were already camping out an hour before the panel started.
well, I know somebody on the Zenkaikon forums who said that they had started lining up 2 hours before the freaking panel, and like in my brain that's just not okay. It's like I've been voicing this on the forums, so if you go on the forums and you see Strata Zero bitching out, no, I'm not bitching, but I'm trying to make a valid point on those forums that this should be enforced. Like 30 minutes is the no earlier than 30 minutes, because it's like the people who do listen are effectively getting punished for listening
Because they get
because
sent to. Because then by the time they get there, 30
yeah,
minutes ahead before the panel, there's already like 100 people there. So then there's like almost no chance they'll get into the panel.
exactly. And so that, like, 30 minutes is good because it eliminates two problems. It eliminates that problem, and the second problem is the fact that it, like, if you can line up whenever you want, it actually undermines, like, every other panel around it because there's so many people cutting it, like, an hour early if it's a 2 hour panel, or maybe 30 minutes into the panel. Meanwhile, if it's a 30-minute wait, because there's usually 15 minutes between panels in the same room, they'll only be cutting 15 minutes of it, which is far less substantial, far less than cutting the whole thing or half of it. It's like, that's because I mean every single panel is prepared. Like the time has been put in to prepare each panel, and if you're cutting each one just to get into the next one, it like undermines the whole flow and everything of every
Mm-hmm.
panel. So I mean, I really think it's something that should be enforced, and should be explicitly stated on the site, not just stated in the opening ceremonies.
Because not everybody goes to those.
Uh huh. There were a lot of people there, but not everybody. I mean, there were over 5,000 people in there. You could not fit 5,000 people in the opening ceremonies.
Nope. Another important thing to note was the fact that there were some other panels that I went to that were they put in like one of their smallest rooms, but was popular enough to be in one of their other rooms. Not necessarily like the giant rooms, but
Hmm.
like they could have put them like, for instance, for those of you who went to the con, maybe in like live 1 or 2, one of the slightly bigger rooms on the second floor, as opposed to the smallest room they have on the third floor.
Like the writing workshop, like that
The writing
panel.
workshop, no. That one was, I'm talking about the ones I went to on Saturday. The
I mean
anime
that room.
opening.
I mean
That
that room.
no, not that room. That room was okay. Like they should. I mean, obviously, I guess it wasn't that. I mean, that was just a personal thing for me because you know it like it could have been like everyone would have had a seat if it was a bigger room. But however,
Hmm.
on the other end of it, there was no way to predict that because they weren't. It's not like they were panels that were repeated from last year.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So and before we get on to our
The guy.
the guy, the gripe about the closing ceremonies and how they
Oh.
spent too much time focusing on the AMVs
Hmm.
to the point where we didn't even get to the main meat. We had to leave before they even got to the meat of the closing ceremonies because we had to drop you off at the train station.
Right, and it's a freaking good time that you did, because there was a giant wave of people that literally came in like a couple minutes after me. And so, like, if you guys had dropped me off, say 10 minutes later, that train may have gotten sold out, because that train did get sold out in tickets. So, shit. I mean, whew, I'm very glad we left when we did. So,
yeah.
Granted, it was a 3-hour trip in total, but it was.
It would have been made longer if you had to wait.
Yeah, it would have been much worse.
And then, I think, is there anything else we have to talk about you can think of before we get on to the guy?
The guy.
There was a lot. I really enjoyed. There was a lot of good cosplays. Some unexpected ones, like
there were some great ones.
like I was surprised that I found a Chrome Dokuro, like.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
And a Rob Lucci. He was cool.
The Rob Lucci one was really good.
But I think the favorite definitely has to go to the group that was cosplaying as the Tetris pieces. They were funny.
Not mine, but
it was. I mean, that was one of them, especially on Friday when the one guy who was also dressed as Deadpool at the same time, so he was like doing the whole Deadpool thing as a Tetris piece.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe even funnier. The fact that, or what about those the two Deadpools that came to the con together?
Yeah, they were in the Good Morning Zenkaikon.
They were in a couple of the panels because they were also in the the Soul Eater panel.
Yeah.
And a couple of the other panels. That was kind of weird though, like how there seemed to be like this group of people that we were following around from panel to panel,
including the guy.
Oh god! Let me see. What were some other interesting, good cosplays we saw? I saw a really good Water 7 Nami.
Oh yeah, you showed me that one. There was a great group of people doing Hunter x Hunter cosplays, so that was sick. Seeing that.
They also got that. I also found my boy Waka.
Oh, the Waka one was awesome.
He was good.
There were more Kuroko no Basket than last year. There was only one last year. There were plenty this year. I mean, enough to satisfy my fam juices. I
don't know. There was also a decent amount of not as many Attack on Titan this year as last year.
Yeah.
But there was also a very decent large amount of, I think the amount of people they lost in terms of Attack on Titan cosplayers probably transitioned over to the Tokyo Ghoul cosplay.
Pretty much. There were a lot of the same ones on Tokyo Ghoul. And it was the main character. Most people were doing the main character.
Uh-huh.
Which I don't get because he's not that good, but
there was a decent amount of fairy tailers.
There was plenty of Fairy Tail, there's plenty of Naruto as always, there's plenty of Bleach captains.
Of course. And you can't do Naruto without doing some of the Akatsuki.
Oh yeah, the Akatsuki was probably the most prominent among Naruto.
Well, no, it was used, and then of course.
And then Naruto himself.
Well, I saw one Goku, but a bunch of people wearing Goku, the Goku shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
A couple JoJo cosplayers.
We also had a pre-time skip and a post-time skip Law cosplayers.
Yes. Which
were very good.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, it was definitely a good variety.
Yeah.
Not as one-sided as it felt like last year with the Attack on Titan. There were still, granted, a decent amount of them, but it didn't feel so one-sided.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you guys now, one of you got to do it. Shokugeki no Soma next year. Somebody do it. If not, I will.
Well, no. Remember, our goal each year should be by the time the next convention comes around to get Link and AZX into Toriko so we can do the Four Heavenly Kings.
Yeah.
Cause
if not, I'm gonna go Zaizen. if I can afford it.
Probably not.
If my hair's long enough, I can actually do his hair.
Dude. Oh my god. See, that's the one thing I always wanted to cosplay, but that's one of the things I'm not looking forward to is getting up that much earlier, so that way you can get your cosplay together.
True.
Like, because you have to, because some depend, because some of them people are using their natural hair, so they gotta like restyle it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just not take a shower.
Yeah.
And putting on makeup if you have it for your cosplay, and
Mm-hmm.
and some of those outfits look very difficult to get in and out of.
Yeah.
There was that reminds me. There was also a couple people playing as Smash Brothers characters like Palutena, Rosalina, and Luma.
I did
The
see
male,
Palutena.
the male Wii Fit trainer. There was also Little Mac, Zero Suit Samus, of course.
Zero Suit. All right. Yeah, I remember that one.
There was let's see what was it, and so let me see. But like there were some of the usual ones like Yoko from Gurren Lagann.
Mm-hmm.
You also had a couple Inuyashas, a Shishomaru.
Yep.
We had a Shishomaru this time around.
No Naraku though, as far as I saw.
Nah, Naraku is not that conspicuous. Because there was what I loved was there was a decent amount of at least decent enough for me to satisfy me in terms of number of Kill la Kill cosplayers.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of those. Yeah.
Most of them were the main character.
Yeah.
And only one of them actually had the life fiber synchronization form.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a Junketsu.
Yep.
Untransformed though, but still, there was a Junketsu. And there was also the 2-star Goku uniform Mako.
Yeah. Yeah, the Jotaro.
And the sword guy, too. I saw him.
Hanagayama, Sonic, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, of the Elite Four, the sword guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there were two separate. What's his name? The guy. There was the teacher guy. There were two of them.
Yes,
one was more focused on his teacher look, as you would see him, and he would even had like the friggin' like purple LED lights on the nipples, so that way he could just like in the show. And there was another one that had his nudist beach look with the friggin' gun in the crotch area.
Mm-hmm.
So
the nipple lights were great.
The nipple lights, yeah, the great touch. But so let me see. There was also there were also a couple of the Ruby people cosplaying as the Ruby people from Ruby, which it became even more noticeable in the aftermath when I actually saw it and was like, oh yeah, this character, I had no idea where they were from. That's from that series, from Ruby.
Right.
That was like a couple. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else we can milk out of this before we get to the guy?
We'll talk about the flyers a little bit later in just Mystic Podcast, but let's get to the guy, and then we'll talk about.
All right. There's
guy. This one guy. I will not describe him on the off chance that he is watching. If you're watching and you know you're that guy, dude, seriously, if you're going to come to Zenkaikon 2016, bring meds with you, please. Because this guy, he was on a mission. Almost every, he didn't ruin every panel. Every panel, he just wanted to ruin everybody's day.
Yep.
And this guy was just
like yelling and screaming out at random and inappropriate times, asking nonsense questions. It was just.
If you were there at the con, I will tell you some of the panels he was in. So if you were in those same panels, you probably know who that guy is. He was in the Good Morning Zenkaikon one. He was screaming in that first one. He was screaming. God. He was in the Lauren Landa panel. He came in very late. and he started asking the same fucking questions that were being asked in the first 30 minutes, but because he didn't have the sense to think that maybe these generic questions had been asked already.
You mean
I
like the same question that's always asked at every voice actor's panel? How did you get into voice acting, and do you have any advice for an aspiring voice actor?
Every time that happened, I always did this. I went like that because it's like a drinking game. It's every time they asked it, just take a drink. If you
And
could
there was other
compile it,
questions. Yeah, you could. There's other questions that they always ask, but that's the big one.
but the thing like the major
But
thing
damn,
that people were asking in the Lauren Landa panel was, "Do you read the manga? Because I really want to spoil this." And she's like, "No, I don't. Please don't say anything." And then
see, a lot of the times, yes, that question's asked a lot because with you would figure because some people they don't understand how busy they are, so so they figure, oh, they probably have all this time to do research and read the mangas and
mhm,
watch the animes that they're doing. But then, if for those of us who've actually been listened to panels watched panels on YouTube and actually been to panels, we hear about how we know and actually know a little bit about the business, or at least from what we've heard from the personal accounts, their lives seem a lot more busier than we at
mhm,
first glance. And some people also, at first glance, it seems like their lives they'd be too busy to have a lot of free time to do anything. But you hear about how they do a lot of different various
yeah.
things in their free time. But their last priority when it comes to things they do in their free time is watching anime and manga related to what they're
Sometimes
doing,
they purposely avoid the
voicing.
manga because a lot of times they tell them like I don't want it to like screw up like the whole
My
anime because
performance.
it's always different. It's not always exactly the same, and so sometimes that happens.
Well, that plus some of them were like, well, they think that they don't want to ruin
Yeah,
their like. Some of them feel like some of them are better at getting the certain emotions out when it's like raw, like oh my god, this just happened. Let me while I'm thinking about while I'm getting my raw reaction to this moment, let me voice
yeah.
act that scene. So plus just to the sheer fact that a lot of them don't have enough time to keep up with every show
Mhm.
they're on.
Oh,
Like
this guy was at the fuck. He
oh
was
yeah, we
at
got okay.
the Nostalgia Critic panel. I was sitting right next to him, and I knew this was gonna happen, and I kind of purposely didn't move my leg in. I could have fully tripped him if I wanted to, but I didn't. I kept it there just in case he would just half trip and just make a fool out of himself. Oh, and he did because I knew the second that they were going to, do the lineup in the middle for the questions like Brina Palencia did last year. I knew immediately
Mm-hmm.
he was gonna bolt right into the middle, and so I didn't move. I said, let him trip if he's going to be that stupid to bolt out into the hallway in a tight space. He did, and he tripped. And Nostalgia Critic picked up on it, and he was making fun of him. I'm like, and I gave myself a
Yeah,
silent clap for myself because I'm like, this guy fucking deserved it.
yeah, because he was basically pretty much every panel that he went to, he
He
ruined.
tried to at least. Um, but yeah, I mean, this guy was on a mission, and I do feel somewhat bad for him because I could really tell that you know, he did have a mental disability on some level because there was some tics that we noticed that he was absolutely certain of it. But at the same time, if you're an adult, because he was able to get into the 18 plus panels, you are responsible for your own actions, and if you're not, you need to be taking meds that make you responsible for your own actions. So I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Haha! Joke. I'm
I'm
just
just
saying.
saying. Um. So I mean, if you're that guy
Yeah.
and you're listening or watching and you know who I'm talking about now because I pretty much made it very blatantly obvious without describing him. Um,
Yep.
look, dude, just take some depressants and don't be so don't be absurd in this panel. I mean, some of us just want to genuinely enjoy ourselves without some guy just barreling in like being a bull in a china shop, and it's a cliche, but it fits so well. This guy was just.
Well, it's unfortunate because they disproved it on
Yeah.
MythBusters. But I still like the saying.
But I won't talk too much more about that guy. There were a couple other people that were pretty loud, and there were a couple other overly obsessive fans, especially with the Nostalgia Critic. He has, I'm telling you, he has some really weird people that he attracts, which is probably why I went to the panel.
Yes, you're weird. If you guys are just joining us, sometimes Strider's other personalities leak out on the podcast.
But that being said, I'm at least cognitive of it, and I'm not over obsessive over. Holy shit, Zoro! Zoro. I don't know, but
yeah. Yeah, it was good. Which reminds me, there was a couple of Zoro cosplayers.
Pretty good ones. Let's
anyway,
quickly about I guess the flyers and the Mystic thing. We didn't hand out as much as I kind of wanted to. I kind of got lost in not the moment, but the experience to the point where it just kind of slipped my mind, and AZX kept complaining at random intervals, but the times he complained were the times where it was like, well, we're going out to dinner, we're not going to hand out them now, and we're not going to go too much into it, but we did end up handing out quite a few of them on Saturday night. I mean, look, if you're watching and you got a flyer from us, tell us you're from Zenkaikon. I think I told like one of you that, but look, tell us you're from Zenkaikon. If you don't like it, tell us why. Tell us what we can improve. We're certainly, we're fans of anime, same stuff you are. That's why we're there. So we're just trying to do our thing. And so if you have any feedback for us, let us know. We're always willing to improve. This is why we're trying the face cam for the first time, because we're trying to see what you guys like.
Because it was, some people do find, because we are personally ourselves, obviously we also follow a bunch of people on YouTube for reviews, and if you look up any reviews for any anime or manga, you're more likely to get, the majority of them are going to be people who, are physically there, as opposed to just, a voice in front of a picture while a picture is being shown. So that's why we're trying to, because, just like anybody else who starts a YouTube channel and consistently creates content, they want followers. They want to improve their content so they can, create a better experience for the viewers and hopefully build their viewer and subscriber base.
Exactly. So, constructive criticism is very, very welcome here. If you don't like what you see, let us know. We can take it. We're big guys. We can take it. So.
I know I'm a bigger guy, but that's besides the point.
We didn't want to be creepy handing out the flyers and shit, but it was just a genuine we just wanted you to check us out. If you don't like us, that's fine. But hopefully, if you're watching, we're glad you tuned in. We hope you had as much fun at Zenkaikon as we did, because despite all our bitching, we had a ton of fun. It was a great experience overall. Next year it'll probably be even better if they can get even better voice actors, or better lineup of panels.
Not be so blatant. Yeah, as long as they don't get so blatantly obvious and pick, a bunch of voice actors who are from the same anime.
And maybe, just maybe, you might see us in a panel or two. We'll see.
Well, it all depends. Thankfully, we have a whole year to plan out and figure it out if we're going to try it. But, you know, it's because, like I said, a couple of people, aren't like, because not all the panels are professional. I'm talking about professionals. Like we said, the performers, they were professional, for the Soul Eater panel, they were, their expertise was was performance and acting, basically. And they just knew enough about the Soul Eater anime to be able to properly portray the characters and how they would react to the various
Hmm.
questions and comments. For the people, once again, I know I said shit earlier, but yes, you know, not necessarily bashing on it. I'm just saying that, the Hyrule, the history, obviously you weren't, you was your first time and you weren't 100% sure what you were doing. So it's obvious if people, now I'm not saying that, again, not to bash on those particular people, but if people like that with that amount of experience with this kind of stuff can get a panel, it gives us hope that we could get a
Especially
panel.
since we have established work already. I think we could get it done.
Well, sort of, I mean, like for not as well established as the people who did the Good Morning
Oh no, those
Zenkaikon.
guys are yeah, those guys are far more established than we are. But here's the thing: we have a couple different
They're
panels
funnier.
planned, and
Well, two. It was mainly two ideas
but I
so
got
far.
more. But
Oh, you have
none of
more.
you guys would be interested in it because basically what I my idea is to throw as much at the wall and see what sticks with the staff. Because the more panel ideas you have, the better maybe one of them will stick. So even if our Torigo, spoiler alert, Torigo panel, why you should get on the hype train, and our Mystic Podcasts panel, I also want to
Which we kind of, yeah, which we is going to be kind of sort of similar to the way in style to the way the guys did that Good Morning Zenkai one, where it's basically we'll just be talking about a bunch of different, random things around the geek community and you know basically try and play off of the questions and comments we get from this
yeah,
audience.
another one I want to throw at them, which I would probably be doing by myself, is Kuroko no Basket versus Slam Dunk. All right. Well,
Huh? Yeah.
that's a huge topic when it comes to people who like those two anime slash mangas. Because everybody, if you talk about Slam Dunk, they're like, yeah, it's better than Kuroko no Basket. Or if you talk about one, they're like, it's better than this one. It's better than that one. It's not as good as this one. So basically, my idea is not to say which one's better, but just to compare the two, where they're similar, where they're different, and then at the end I'll give my opinion
Mm-hmm.
of what I think is better or what my favorite is. Even though if you've been watching some of my reviews, you might know which one I like better, but Kuroko no Basket. But
um, what were what were some other ideas you got
well,
to
there was
throw at
that,
the
and then
wall?
maybe I don't know. There's so many different ones. Like that one is a big one. There's I could always do the Shokugeki no Soma. Be like, why you should get on this hype train? I don't know.
Or
Nah,
Magi?
fuck that. Magi doesn't need my help.
um, no, it
Shokugeki
doesn't.
needs help, but
But
even though it does well in manga sales, it doesn't have the American fan base it needs.
well, yeah, but isn't its anime coming out soon?
Today, one day, now that it's Friday, dude. Oh, expect that on Monday. It's coming. It's coming. With Fate Stay Night on the same day, you're gonna get JoJo, Kuroko, Fate Stay Night, and Shokugeki no Soma premiere. Monday is gonna be good. I'm telling you.
Good for you. Good
Yes.
for views.
Especially Fate Stay Night, because
Uh,
y'all freaking love yourselves on Fate Stay Night. But
no, no, no. What they love is chapter
Yeah,
316 of
314.
Toriko.
Yeah,
It was 316,
it's 314.
wasn't it?
I was just looking. It has 125
Uh,
right now, I think, in terms of views, which is freaking insane for us.
yeah, that's like for us. That's like getting like 1 million views for
Yeah,
normal people.
but I think
Hopefully, we'll be getting a lot more views
I
in the
think I
future.
think we've talked enough about Zenkaikon. Is there anything you want to add?
Um, if you are watching this and you're in the area and haven't gone to it before, you should
Yeah,
come
definitely.
because it's been steadily growing to become like a major convention
Oh,
contender.
and if you haven't figured out, the shirt he has on is from the con, so the dealer's room.
Yeah, I bought this year. Yep, I also bought my little Sanji and two other T-shirts: a fairy tale T-shirt with Natsu and Happy on it, a One Piece shirt with the Monster Trio, and a nice fancy pair of chopsticks because I want to have an excuse. That way, I have an excuse to eat more food with
I didn't
chopsticks.
buy shit from the dealer's room because I'm broke. So
You bought
yeah,
good times.
I bought food and good times.
Yeah. So uh so if you're watching, so I guess in closing we should say how you know as always you should if you enjoy the podcast or any of our reviews, you should join the forum so you can join in on the discussion, because why just keep your fanboy rages on YouTube comment section? Bring it
There
to
you
the
go.
forum.
You won't have a bunch of angry 14-year-olds screaming at you. Maybe you'll have.
You'll have a bunch of angry 18 adults
I was about to say.
yelling at you who actually know what they're talking about
Yeah.
for the most part.
At least I won't be screaming at you because there are very few things I yell at. But if you want to hear me yell, go watch my Walking Dead review. Dude, I went nuts on Walking Dead review. I started like, I just fucking finished that episode. Yeah! It's great. The beginning, just, it won't spoil anything. Just watch the beginning of that later. But anyway, I think that'll about do it for Mystic Podcast. Of course, as my boy just said, join the forum. Um, come watch my shit on youtube.com/work TigerX. I'm doing Swing Away Golf, so if you want to watch paint dry, come to my channel. No, but I do commentary at least, and the game's a lot better than watching regular golf. But
There's also the fact that you also are this is during your hiatus, from streaming because you're just posting the
yeah, I
videos.
post one a day unless it's like so short that I'm gonna post another one, like I did yesterday. After this, we'll see. I may start the Ace Attorney series, but I'm not sold on it yet. I said that about streaming, and then I said fuck it, so I may say fuck it with the regular gameplay. I don't know. It's going to be difficult to do because the double screen and both screens are important, so it's going to be weird. But anyway, I guess that's going to do it for this week. I know it's been a long podcast, but if you're interested in Zenkaikon, I'm sure you've skimmed through this. So give us comments. Tell us where you found us. It's always that data. Data is always good. So thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you all next week.